This lecture is on kidney macrostructure, part 1. So each kidney has 3 parts. And they then are the outer part, which is called the cortex. The middle part, which is called the medulla. And the inner region, which is called the renal pelvis. Now take a look at these words. It helps you figure things out, okay? So let's just take a look here. Cortex. Cortex is often used to describe an outer part or an outer layer of something. Medulla in the middle, and then the pelvis down at the bottom. So when you see the word cortex, just think outer layer, for instance. So I'm gonna draw a picture of this now. So give me a moment while I try to make this work for you. So here we are, and there's going to be a ureter coming out of this. So let's just do something like that. All right, and then here we have the ureter coming out. This obviously is a kidney. And so then we have this area here, which is a little bit more of shape like this. But there's going to be various details here that I'm leaving out. But this now is the renal pelvis, often just referred to as the pelvis. And then outside of that, you're going to see these structures that kind of look like this. A little bit broader at the top or at one end than at the other. So, like that. This is not perfect, but it gives you the idea. So we have, as I said, these structures like this, and I'm going to reduce this in size just a bit for scale. Let's do this there, that's nice. My point is, where you see these sort of trapezoidal structures that are known as the renal pyramids, in fact, this area then is the medulla. And then the outer area here is the renal cortex. These are all, in fact, known as the renal cortex, the renal medulla, and the renal pelvis. So there we have a pretty good picture of the different kidney layers. So there we go. So what happens is this. The kidney is where you have blood coming in. I haven't drawn in the blood vessels here, but you have blood coming in, and the blood basically has nitrogenous wastes removed. And those nitrogenous wastes then flow out of the kidney along with some water, and that waste plus water is what urine is. Okay? So the blood coming in basically has to go through a bunch of different processes before you get to the waste products that we're trying to take out. And that will be the subject of the next couple of lectures. So let's get started now. The blood that enters the kidney in order to be cleaned, in order to have the wastes removed then, the blood is filtered in the cortex. That is the process that takes place then in the cortex, is filtration of the blood. And the medulla is made up of tubes. And first, are the collecting ducts. Then these are tubes. These tubes carry the urine to the renal pelvis. And the other tubes that you find in the medulla then are what is called the loop of Henle. And for that, I will simply say more on this later. I will talk about the loop of Henle and its role in urine production in a later lecture. So then we have the collecting ducts, all right? Let's do this. So we have now the collecting ducts that carry the urine to the renal pelvis. And the renal pelvis then is a cavity. Connected to the ureter, as I have shown here. And the urine that is formed from the filtrate, as it is known, and more on this later, drains from the renal pelvis and into the ureter. So again, we have the urine formed in the kidney, going through these areas here into the renal pelvis, and then flowing from the renal pelvis through the ureter to elsewhere. And that is the end of this lecture on the first part of kidney macrostructure.